And as knowledge workers, how this muscle works is so important. And just being able to tune it the way we want it to work is so important. So I realized that my attention was getting fractured. I was missing deadlines. I wasn't getting I wasn't getting the portfolio that I wanted to get done. And I got over that. I got real mad at myself at first, but then I got over it by purging my phone. I got rid of all the apps that needed my attention. I set aside any entertainment that wasn't like the one thing that I was looking forward to. No more sidetracks. And this, I just fine tuned this engine.
Yo, what's up? This is the Shaping Design podcast where we help you get better at design. I'm your co-host, Mitchell Bernstein, and today we interviewed Andrew Lee. You're going to hear our conversation with Andrew shortly. We talked about ambient technology, the future of AI, and kind of his new role as a design lead at IBM. He works on the IBM Watson Assistant team, and him and I have a little bit of history, went kind of way back to the internship we joined IBM with, and him and Pascal have also worked a little bit together, so we have some paths that have crossed several times, and he's a good friend of mine, good friend of the pod. I really think you're going to enjoy this episode, so why don't we get into it? But before we do, just want to remind you that you can find this pod, the video version of this podcast, on YouTube. So go there, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and then, if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to my voice through, please rate our podcast. Give it a 5-star rating if you really like it, and if you don't, let me know. Let us know. We want to know how to get better at this. We want to know what's wrong with the podcast so we can improve it for you, so it's actually enjoyable to listen to, right? And also to watch. So please stick around for that. Just go for all those social networks, like it, subscribe, and let us know. All right. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Pascal, you're looking good, man. Last time I saw you, you did not have long hair.
Yeah, it's this thing that when you move to Mexico, it kind of goes with long hair.
Uh,
How you doing?
right.
What's going on, man?
I'm doing well. How are you, Mitchell?
Good. I heard you got a promotion,
A promotion? No.
or you moved
No,
over to a different team.
it was a move in the right
Nice.
direction, yeah.
Correct. Okay. Cool.
That's awesome.
And how you liking it?
It's been the most wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Imagine something that you've wanted for close to a decade in your
Really?
career and finally achieving it.
Are we allowed to talk about it at
how
all?
happy.
Wow.
Oh yeah, we could talk about it. That's how
Yeah.
happy I am about it. Yeah.
That's
Oh,
fantastic.
I'm so excited for you. You 100% deserve it, and I'm sad that we're not working together where we can enjoy it together. But that's awesome. I'm very happy for you. You know what? Why don't we go into it after we talk about kind of like your background up until this point? Why don't you have like a 5-minute spiel about who you are, what you do, and a little bit of history about you.
All right. So hi everybody. My name's Andrew Lee. I'm a design lead at IBM. I work on Watson Assistant. But it wasn't always like that. I started out making memes on Photoshop and stealing CD keys for Adobe Photoshop and all that back when I was in high school. I started doing graphic design, got into maps as an undergrad student. But that was because the design program at Chapel Hill was really hard to get into, and I didn't have a portfolio at the time. And then eventually I made my way over to interactive design and game development. And then that led to IBM, data, and AI.
Cool. And do you want to describe a little bit about how we kind of met, or do you want me to do that?
I bet you could tell it better than I could. Go ahead.
You know what? I think we became lovers on the very first moment we laid eyes on each other. Right?
Well, that's a big word right there, right?
Well, I
Using
think
the
that,
L word.
yeah, right. I think that it was great, a great time when we met. So for those who don't know, Andrew and I we crossed our paths when we met in the airport in Austin. I believe that's when we first met. Going in a car to our internship, really the hotel that we're staying at together not us two together, but all the interns together,
This
right? It was like 15 of
is
us, right?
getting saucier.
Hell
Like you
Yeah,
said.
it's
yeah,
like
saucy,
that
saucy and
love word is
designy.
getting big right now.
Yeah, right. And so, we both applied and got into this internship program and ended up being on the same team in the internship program and became really good friends, I guess. Yeah, that's kind of how we know each other.
Yeah, and I've run into Pascal a few times. I think Pascal and I, you and I we've probably have been in the same Zoom meetings, but I don't think you and I have actually been on the same team or anything like that.
We were in totally different portfolios,
Hmm.
and right, you guys were in data and AI. I was like data and AI, but a different path of it.
Yeah.
I think, and we probably cross paths in numerous different projects or things. You may have been there when we had this design system integration guilds or models or like anything we were doing across the entire portfolios. So I think we
Yeah.
had the chance to connect at that point and anything. But yeah, I don't, we definitely didn't never worked on that same portfolio before.
Right,
Maybe
right.
one day. Um, but let's talk real quick about what you're doing now. So you kind of transitioned to the role. I think that you said that it's kind of like it's 10 years in the making. Something you really
8, but
wanted.
yes, yeah. Yeah, something
It's
I've wanted
about a
for a really long
decade.
time.
Round up, round up. Makes for a better story.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
tell me about it.
um I just started, so it hasn't been 3 weeks yet. But
Wow.
it's on the Watson Assistant team. Lots of exciting things seem to be happening in this echo chamber of ours, in
Watson
terms of it.
Assistant, that's very cool.
Yeah, Watson Assistant.
Can you describe
Um,
a little bit about like what Watson Assistant is and like what your actual day-to-day work is starting to
yeah,
look like?
yeah. So Watson Assistant is IBM's chat product, but there's lots of different channels that we also work through, like phone, and lots of different integrations into places like Twilio or Slack and all that. Um, it's an assistant product that aims to basically make customer and business relationships a little bit easier.
Nice. And what do you do on it then?
Well, I'm about to start my first project. I can't tell you about that, but in general, as a design lead, um, there's lots of different things that I could do. Right
Mhm.
now, I'm focused on contributing to the product, um, making flows, wireframes, opining on design excellence, making resources for other designers, just trying to make people's lives a little bit easier and more fun on the team.
Lovely. And why the switch?
Well, at the beginning, I said, this is something I've wanted for a really long time. I think back when I was pursuing my MFA, I was really passionate about accessibility and text to speech technology, um, and what it could do for folks who may be blind or who might have low sight. So it was a way to get back to something that I was really passionate about.
That's awesome. But why this though? Like, what about this is that you're passionate about? Like, I know
I
you
think it's
said
the technology
accessibility, but
itself. I think it's
okay.
the technology itself. At some point in my career, a mentor of mine laid out this vision of ambient computing, of just being able to invoke whatever it was that you were hoping to get done through a computer, basically without an interface. Um, and I I'm passionate about that experience, and I figured I needed to really get hands-on experience with AI and with chat and voice. So I've been angling for this job for a real long time, and I finally got it.
And when you say like without an interface, you mean like
Yeah.
without like a digital like application or something like that, or like without any interactions with the
Well,
technology?
I think, I mean, there's always a bit of an interface, right? With
Right.
even with voice, you've got your microphone, you've got the speakers. So I perhaps misspoke a little bit there. I think I'll say with less of an interface than we
Okay.
have right now.
With
Um,
less of an intrusive interface.
Yeah, I would say that. It's also like, yeah, keyboard and mouse, those things are great. Um, but I don't know about you, but I went through my keyboarding class. We all went through some type of keyboarding class, right? Where we had to learn. And it's not as human as speaking.
Yeah, I don't think there really is anything as human as speaking, but
Right.
I think the only thing maybe more than that is seeing body language in terms of communication.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
right? Because like, body language is like what 80 to 90%. I don't know how someone can actually measure it, but it's like 80 to 90% the communication when you're
Mhm.
kind of interacting with somebody, your body language, because you can say something but not actually mean it, and your body usually kind of directs that information. It's like, oh shit, actually, this person is really scared. They're shaking like crazy, but they sound great. Uh, you know, so I get that. Cool, that's cool.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, we had some questions lined up. Pascal, I know you had a few questions. I have
Yeah,
some
yeah.
in the notes. Do you want to shoot over some of those questions?
Yeah, and we talked a lot about, being lead, and I know being lead in the company you currently work for, and even that product you're on, because I used to work across that portfolio.
Yeah.
What's different, or what do you perceive as different being a lead in that space versus what a lead is elsewhere? Because in some other industries, when you become a lead, you become like this, you have reports under you and things like that. And sometimes it's there's IC route, there's the manager route. Can you elaborate a bit more for the people that may not understand that space, or like the enterprise software space, where what is the lead at that point?
Yeah. So like everything I'm about to say is like my opinion and none of it reflects what IBM thinks or what their thoughts are. But what I can say about being a lead over in Watson Assistant, when I'm only been on the job for 2 days or 2 weeks, and I'm already getting the sense that being a lead on a chat and voice uh, service means that you have to have a very intimate amount of knowledge with the domain itself. Um, it was different than when I was a lead over on the data side. Over there, it was some of it was the general stuff that you might expect with somebody with a little bit more tenure.
Yep.
Um, you could expect the lead over there to do the things like managing people, managing the process, like the day to day design work, the IC work. But I think with Watson Assistant, there's a greater deal of hype around technologies surrounding it and intersecting with it and understanding what clients um, are able to understanding what clients want and the amount of risk that they're willing to take when it comes to those technologies, I think
Yeah.
is something that a design lead needs when they're working in that space.
Were there
Yeah,
any
it's well
like
said. It's well said. And it's like you gotta push boundaries, you gotta push innovation, you gotta kinda understand what users need and just keep pushing. It's
Yeah.
it's it's interesting in that way. Sorry,
were
Mitch,
there
you were about
any
to say?
Oh yeah, sorry. Were there any like misconceptions that you had going into this role that you think you're figuring out as like, oh crap, that's actually not what I thought, or like, I was expecting something different, and this is actually the reality in a good way or bad way. Not like doesn't have to be bad, but like, is there
I
anything that
was
yeah?
told I was told that I would have a like there was a good deal of like meat for me to for me to sink my teeth into. I didn't expect how much there would be that I could do. There's a lot of impact that you can have on this product, especially because right now there's a lot of excitement in that space. So getting schooled in the first 2 weeks about uh, taking on more than I can chew is something I was not expecting. But it's a good lesson to learn early.
And I have to say the PMs on that, I don't know if they're still the same, but they know that product inside out so much that if you come to the table with like innovative ideas, like you said, being chewed,
Yeah.
everything's positive, right? Everybody wants to push so much, but they're so savvy. And it's just like the passion everybody comes to the table with. And at the same time, I think, right, it's going to force you to up your game in a way, but you're already prepared for this. Like you came to
Mm,
the table, you got to here. Now it's just a matter of, keep pushing it. It's just fun times ahead. I kind of see for you.
thanks. Yeah, and you're right. The PMs, they certainly know what they're doing. I get the sense that everybody in the room is very self-motivated and very knowledgeable to what you're saying, to like what you're saying. Yeah.
So I want to shift gears a little bit,
Let's
more
shift
on the
gears.
general topic of AI, because all three of us worked in the AI space, right? With
Okay.
data, with consuming data, putting data into production, with models and whatnot, training models, whatever. We all kind of had some touch points on that and tools that other people can use that use AI and so forth. Do you find that this trend, this recent uh, huge push to AI, is it just peaking now, or is this like just the beginning of it? Because when we worked at IBM, it seemed like AI couldn't really achieve the things that some things that were being promised in the industry, and we're trying to live up to those things. Like, yeah, it's like 75% that, but it's like that's actually so much of a experience cut out that it actually is detrimental to the user experience, and therefore they don't actually expect it to work as well. So, talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think as an industry, everybody is getting more and more knowledgeable about what value looks like when it comes to AI. So I it's not so much whether we're on the rising slope of expectations or whether we're in like that trough of disillusionment or whether we're reaching some sort of plateau of like enlightenment and value. I think that people are processing faster what hype cycles look like when it comes to this new technology. So it's going to go up and down a lot faster, I think,
Mm.
rather than the industry sort of sitting with this new AI technology like Chat GPT, and sitting around with it for a while. I think it's gonna just go up and down and up and down a lot faster.
But why is that? Like,
Like I
what's
said, I think we're just getting really knowledgeable about what models can do, what parameters you need, what the cost of training something like that looks like.
okay?
Um,
So
yeah,
there's communication about the technology, so you get information about it more rapidly, more easily. You don't have to
yeah,
go to a library to read a book about it. It's
yeah,
just available, and then also open source ones people can dig into, right? So I
yep.
guess that's part of your statement there, and then the other part you're mentioning is that um, it's
There's a media aspect to it that I'm seeing. Like every
okay.
time there's some new technology out, there's a media aspect to it where people talk about it. People like us talk about it. People on LinkedIn talk about it,
You-
and then interest is tested basically, and then it just goes through a trough of disillusionment, and that seems to be happening faster and
Can you talk
faster. What is it?
what does that mean?
The trough of disillusionment?
Yeah.
I think it's mostly been discredited, so I don't know how much I should be talking about it. But the idea is that there's like a hype train at the beginning. People get really excited about some new technology. It doesn't meet those expectations, and then it slams back down into like, oh my gosh, my expectations, you know, they've been foiled. And then eventually there's like a slope of people getting excited about it again as people who are less or who are more risk adverse, they get a hold of it and they start really fine tuning it into the use cases
Mm.
that will that are more sustainable for those businesses.
I think it's a awesome way to put it because it's almost like the investment curve when you're like in crypto or whatever. Like if you look at it, it kind of goes up, slams, but if you look over time, it's something that's going to keep evolving. And I
Yeah,
think we're not going to get away from AI. We're at this point where it's like a trend and maybe it's going to be a trend that's going to stay forever, right? I think right now people are trying it, mom and pop are trying to figure out a way to make even their content or their blog posts more I think it's at a point where it's like it's at the verge of being like massive adopted compared to when we were all of us at IBM working in data and AI, where it wasn't this easily connected AI aspect. And now it's like at the cusp of being massively adopted. So I think how you framed it is perfectly said, where it's going to go up and down until it's solidified into a way. Because even now, you turn around and ChatGPT, like we know about it, but like there's Jasper, there's like other software that comes in could potentially do even better. So it's still
Yeah.
going to be going up and down, up and down, up and down until we kind of solidify that foundation of what AI can be and do.
I do think we're on that rising slope though. And the reason I say that is because it seems like every day I hear about some new startup
Yep.
that has taken it. And to use your phrase, Pascal, there are these like mom and pop type of companies that are using AI um, to solve smaller problems to fit
Mhm.
smaller clients. So it is sort of maturing, I think.
I heard a stat. I don't know if it's scary or positive, but they're saying within the next 2 years, marketing companies are going to cut their employees by like 80% because of AI. And
80%.
yeah, that's what I could find the quote just to quote it correctly, but
Yeah.
2 articles I read that were talking about close to those numbers, which is
Wow.
phenomenal. It's like it's scary when you think about it. But it's like it's scary, and
That's an
that's like a
interesting.
follow-up question. Like, should we be scared about this?
Well, AI is a tool.
Yes.
And
It's a tool that though that we don't like. At least IBM's perspective on it was you don't want to replace humans, you want to augment humans, right? AI as augmented intelligence.
it it certainly should be used. In my opinion, it certainly should be used in a manner that makes people better.
Yes.
And I think a part of that starts, I think that outcome starts with the tool makers being ethical.
What does that mean?
Ooh, that's
Ethical.
like a totally that's a nice can you unpack what ethical UX is? 'Cause
I mean,
that's a big topic.
you can't, if your outcome is simply money, then I think the ethics of that are pretty questionable. Um, but if your ethics are, we want to, I don't know, do this, but in a way that improves the lives of people, that let's take your writer example, for example,
Mhm.
Pascal. Um, it could be that a company could generate AI that just makes articles all day long. And those articles could really do a lot of damage, right? We've seen what that can do. But if there's AI that keeps writers honest, that tells readers what disinformation might be present in an article, I think everybody benefits from that. That's a pretty ethical tool.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
if you have unethical tool makers making really sketchy tools, you're gonna have an unethical outcome.
Actually, Peter Thiel just, I think, did a talk at a very famous school about like safeguarding the ethics behind the AI and how that kind of is being determined. And I would like to ask you, like, AI is you're embedding your principles to the AI that you make. So if you're a data scientist, you have to choose a worldview of how you want the distribution of data points to be, presented so that the AI can then take that and then give an answer based on whatever that viewpoint is or that worldview is rather. And so, you know, speaking about truth about AI, AI bases everything it knows. It doesn't know the truth. It knows based on data that's given. So how do you know the data is truthful?
How do you know the data is truthful? I would
So I
hope
think I
that,
think it's like it's a nice thing to want the AI to be ethical, but I would
yeah,
love to hear your thoughts on like how like ethics plays into it because I don't know if you know I did a ethics kind of exercise at IBM trying to build a conscious system, and that burned up as the project and kind of
I
crashed and
don't know
burned.
about your project, but
Yeah.
I think it starts with really good hiring.
But does that
You've
mean
got to
that it's
have,
about people's opinions at the end of the day?
it's about people's opinion at the end of the day. I think you've got to have hiring. I think hiring is all of that, all of the ethics in AI, ethical tools, ethical tool makers. I think those are lagging indicators to what is basically hiring that is equitable. If you're
Mm.
hiring people who are ethical, then you've basically solved the problem before it ever exists.
Do we think though, okay, if I play devil's advocate, I don't think that people
Play
when they
devil's
create
advocate.
no, I'm just saying when
Andrew
people
loves
create
this.
tools, I think they all come to the table with the right intent. I don't think they come to the table with all these dark UX patterns off the bat. Some do, like because they've learned them. But I think
Yeah.
when they create new tools and new software, I think the primary goal is to help people. Then when the like money comes along, maybe that can start to sway things. But I would argue and hope for everybody that comes to the table comes with the best intention in hand.
Yeah. I would agree. I would also say that I mean, we're all designers, so we know that I think we never really know what users will try to do, right? Um, I
Yeah,
think the question is, do you have the right people in the team to know when to pull the plug on something when it gets out of hand? You know, um, do they
do you
have?
do you think that
Yeah, go
that's
ahead.
like set forward in like the mission and principles of the team? Because like I can see it
Yeah,
being like because we kind of agreed that it's it's opinion based at the end of the day. So there's always an opinion that drives all of these decisions, and those are based on whatever information they're given. They can decide whatever decision they want to make on that. But it sounds like from what I hear, and correct me if I'm wrong, there has to be some sort of like stake in the ground that that team is like, all right, we're driving towards this direction, and maybe another team and another company drives towards a different direction. And each team seems to set their own ethical standards based on their mission and principles, and what they allow and what they are capable of.
I would agree. Yes, that
Okay.
yeah, it starts with opinions and hiring and having leadership. I don't think people want to work for others who are making the world worse. I think I'm fundamentally optimistic about the good in people. I gotta say,
Really? Okay. That's interesting. Is there something that
where were
led you to
you?
that?
Are we unpacking?
No, no, this is not. Let's not turn this into a design thinking exercise.
Okay.
Well, I just want kind of want to understand that thought because there's also the dark side of that is that there's a gatekeeping and kind of like suppressing of information. I don't want to go into anything COVID related. I'm not going to go into any of that because I will get pulled from Spotify or have like a flag
Oh
on it or
my
something. I don't need
god.
that. But there's
TOS.
but there's information in places online that are allowing, anyone to say anything. And then there's information that is like tightly filtered, for example. And I find that, if we're using AI for good and bad, we would have to generally understand what is good and bad, and then the bounds in between that are up for grabs. And those bounds in between would be what is allowed based on the opinion of that team. For example, trying to come up with an example that's not going to get us canceled or not going to get us thrown off of YouTube or something. But you know, generally when people talk about AI, they talk about the algorithms of the social networks, and a lot of tools that all three of us have built have nothing to do with that, which is crazy because a lot of money lies in machine learning models for predicting like what's going to be the next product next year or something like that, right? But like, what is determining the ethic? Is there even ethics around that? Like, why would you need that? Like, is it going to go off? Like, is the AI going to go haywire and figure out like a product, a color that's like, crazy that people, would start protesting the company about? Like, it seems like a lot of like ethics might also be in my opinion, overblown. It's kind of like more sequestered into specific contexts that AI is applied to, not every bit of AI. Because most AI is really dumb AI, right?
Mitchell, I'm gonna say something controversial.
Yeah, please.
I'm waiting for a question at the end of that ramble you just went on.
Well, I want to ask, do you agree with that? Do you agree that there's people that are setting forth AI's ethics that is wrong? Or is it that, that's just not ethics you align to?
I can't speak to other people's values.
Hmm.
I can only say that fundamentally, I believe that we generally want the world to be better.
Mhm.
And that starts with just being a better person. I think people want to be better people, uh, no matter what. That's basically it.
That's interesting. I agree, but I don't
I don't agree with
I
that
could
at
not
all.
agree with that. I think people there are some
Let's hear
villains
it.
in the world. No, but I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, there's always gonna be villains in the world, and
Mhm.
I think there are people that want to control, and they're gonna do whatever they want to control. But that could be like a whole different
Mhm.
rabbit hole that we could open,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
right? I
think
think it's interesting, but I understand, and I ultimately think that one or two people in this world are gonna use AI with the wrong intent and are gonna
mm,
create that something to just grasp onto everything. I like that. There's some people out there that exist that are going to go and do that. Not us because we have ethics, I should say.
okay.
But like, right? That's my point of view. But like, that's a
I have
topic
no ethics.
Disaster. Look, guys, disaster and apocalypses are around the corner, right? But if you wake up and you think that's the case, I don't think people would get out of their bed, you know?
No,
Yeah.
I mean, it's 2012,
There
right?
are good
2012.
people who would prevent that from happening. I would
yeah,
have to assume, you know?
I don't
Otherwise,
know.
you would
I don't
lose faith in
know.
all humanity otherwise, right?
no.
I
But we keep chugging away, and I think
Yeah.
it's like we keep chugging away. We keep doing our human self best interest in all this, and but yeah,
Yeah.
if we turn this into like a more positive spin now,
Yeah, let's do it.
what basically like what is it that you find the most interesting and challenging of designing for AI? Because people think the AI it does something, but if you look at like enterprise software and what we were doing, what you're doing, designing for AI is actually pretty fun in my point of view, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you like about it? And like, can you tell us a bit more about it from your point of view?
I like the potential of it. Um, Going through design school, I was introduced to a concept called wicked problems or ill-structured
Yep.
problems. And I think that AI is the first tool that I have seen that could really actually structure problems in a way that humans could consume them.
Mm.
It has I think it has the same value as a designer might have to a team. AI might be the designer that humanity needed all along. AI might be that synthesizing tool where it says, we could solve disinformation. We could solve pollution and loneliness and really bad politics if only we could do these things and these people did it.
Yeah.
You know, right now, AI, like I get great Snapchat filters and you might be able to like edit people out of videos. I think that's like, those are lower stakes AI, I think.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, I'm excited about designing for AI because eventually we're gonna get to a point where that AI is going to be able to answer and structure those problems for us.
I kind of see it as a like a designer companion tool, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's gonna be like your imaginary friend when we were kids.
Yeah.
Some had imaginary friends. I didn't have any, but like it's gonna be like your companion to help you along the way to be able to achieve better outcomes or things. It's gonna be if we all use it correctly, I think there's an opportunity for us to leverage it as a strong toolkit and a strong way of moving forward.
It's not a panacea though.
Yeah.
Let's make no mistake about what AI is it's not like the silver bullet to all of our problems. It's to like I think we all agree that it's meant to augment the choices that we make, right?
Yeah,
Agreed.
I think it's supposed to definitely augment a lot of the choices, but also, if possible, replace choices that maybe aren't even meant for people to be doing at a grand scale. Like things that are very dangerous. Uh,
I would
for
agree.
example, like building a machine, like like constructing a building on Mars. Like, that's a very dangerous job. What if we had an AI robot like Elon Musk, AI thing, Tesla bot
Yeah.
to
But
like go
how
build?
do you
Like
know
that's
it's
kind of
dangerous
cool.
if you've been?
I mean, can you breathe on Mars? I don't know if I can, but why don't you go try? Yeah, but I mean, like, yeah, I think that generally on Earth, uh, the problems that we're solving typically could best fit into the augmented bucket, right?
Yeah. I'm curious to hear your opinions on this, guys.
Mm.
There are certain jobs in the history of humanity that were probably pretty dangerous and we automated away from them or some machine took them over.
Yeah.
How should how should societies react when AI starts targeting jobs that are around today?
I mean, what did they do when the telephones were, replacing people, connecting the people to the other, service or whatever? Or what about um, different I'm assuming in medical field having doctors rush back and forth to do different tests that are now easily done more quickly, and you now using AI to detect, breast cancer,
Mm.
AI to
Mhm.
detect all different types of illnesses quickly and faster earlier on, with less blood, maybe, right? So I
Mhm.
think technology itself just advances. I think in a way, we are inhibiting the advancement of AI and therefore inhibiting the advancement of humanity, because this is definitely something that's more than just a tool. Like Pascal, you mentioned, it was like a companion. What if we were able to speak to a computer and it did a task for us, it created an application for us to use? That would be amazing, because maybe it's something we needed for our specific context, and then you throw it away, right? You never use it again. But
Yeah. I,
I
I
think,
think,
yeah.
yeah, I think it is scary when you think of what it could do because we're living in it right now. Like the same way I assume when people were working in factory plants and machines came along, those people were
Mhm.
scared because it was
Mhm.
eliminating jobs. But if you think about it, I assume, and I don't have any stats for this, but I assume that for every people that got job eliminated, it created the same amount in a different field or in tech because people shifted. Like I would say, and like I said, I don't have stats, but I would argue that we remove jobs, but we create new. And
Mhm.
there are jobs that we're going to create in the next 10 years that we don't even have titles for because we don't know these jobs are necessary. So I think we evolve, and it is also our job as human beings to keep evolving and evolve with times and not just stay stagnant as, well, this is what I do. This is what I'm going to be doing for 40 years. Well, no,
Mhm.
you got to reinvent yourself continuously as you move up, as that like slope that you mentioned. I think it's going to be the same for this. Like, I
So,
think the people, like the designers that gotta use AI in their jobs are gonna outshine the ones that don't at one point. Like, that's my point of view. Am I right or
Yeah.
wrong? I don't know. Like
I
in
mean,
a couple of years, we'll see.
we actually have data to back that up. Like that was something that we did at IBM specifically, empowering people to be able to do more tasks faster using
Yes.
AI and being like a monitor for the AI, and then getting the results that the AI can't do well. It's like, hey, you need to choose between A and B. I can't figure it out. I'm the AI. Help the AI out. We
Oh,
had those
100%.
scenarios, but
But like the
I
stats
think
that
I
the
think though
stats that I was talking about, like for the like the 80% of marketing teams that may be eliminated, we don't know yet. Like that's a factual number that they're throwing out because they're thinking and they're making assumptions that AI is going to be able to replace a lot of this. Is it going to? Not all, but I mean, these people are going to reinvent themselves into something else.
Yeah.
well, you know, to be devil's advocate though on your question, Andrew, those people that do get left behind, they're not gonna die like instantly. They're not gonna vaporize. Like, what do we do with them, right? There's still a question of like these people. They cannot learn fast enough. They cannot be of use anywhere else because they've trained so hard and become so specialized in one specific task that then gets automated, or even that task doesn't even get automated, it just gets replaced by a whole new workflow,
Mhm.
right? So we're at the point where we have such a large amount of people and the population is actually going down now globally. Not that bad for America, but for other countries, right? You know, there is something that AI, we need to accompany AI with in terms of, I think maybe that's what the government step in to do at some point. Like, what happens to these people that like they can't learn fast enough, they can't accelerate and jump into a different job market that they're not really a part of when they've been doing something for 50, 30, 20 years. That part is a very difficult thing that we haven't quite understood the ramifications of it because we haven't seen just yet.
Yeah. I suspect we haven't really truly entered the emotional part of politics.
Mm.
So I've been taught that, your people's emotions end up impacting policy. Passions impact policy. And I don't think like the guy next door or the woman down the street has truly grappled with the risk of having their job automated. Um, Personally, I think what I would expect is perhaps maybe in 10 years or so, who knows? There might be an older workforce that just got an entire, an entire like skill set automated. So it might be good for us to, you know, set expectations about having people joining our ranks who are just hoping to retool themselves.
Are we getting closer to Wally, the movie, than we think?
um, you know, there are machines that pick up trash cans off the street. And I think it used to be a guy or a woman who used to pick up that trash.
I know.
Oh man, that's funny. I mean, I think we're already there at Wally in some cases,
I think we're
for
already there.
sure.
I think
Yeah,
we're already there.
you know,
Oh yeah.
unfortunately,
If
but
you look at like Ready Player One, combine that with Wally, like I see some
oof.
people living that life already.
Really?
Oh
Well,
yeah.
I
Like
thought it was interesting. Everyone was super fit and not like stuck in a chair in Ready Player One. So like they're obviously using
yes.
the virtual reality and
Oh
they're
my
actually
gosh.
moving around back and forth, right? Like that's a lot. You can actually do a lot of really cool things, I think, with virtual reality, but I don't think we fully understand that at all. And that's just a freaking miss,
That was my favorite part of Wally was that everybody had just let go of their health
Oh yeah.
wealth. Like we're actually on that path. Everybody is okay with sweatpants, just sweatwear as being like normal. Next stage, it's just going to be like, oh, yeah, I gained a healthy 50 pounds.
That's
That
gonna be the new word of the year.
Yeah.
I think that was a really good
You
prediction.
gained 20 pounds. Good for you, man. It
And
looks
you
good
you
on you. You
you did
carry
all
it
that?
so well. So brave.
You did all that laying down?
You did
Awesome.
all that laying down. Show me how you did that laying down again. Show me that.
That's awesome.
That's horrible.
It's funny, but it's sad.
But do you think that then tying it back to AI, do you think AI is leading us to that on purpose? Like having
I think we are
technology?
leading ourselves to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
AI is not sentient. I think we ourselves are
Well, no,
leading
like AI is
towards.
not telling us to do it, but AI is simplifying the tasks and then giving us information without us having to work harder for it. So it's, we're not having to walk to the library. Not that anyone even fucking walked to the library, they drive to it, but we had to go get a book. We couldn't just sit at the computer in the room and do everything from work to interpersonal communication to buying and purchasing things and goods all from our computer before. We had to go to the store. We had to go to these places. So people are more I don't know what the word is, like they just sit. They sit more and they're not as active, right?
I mean, we're information workers, man. Maybe I should get a treadmill while I'm working. That would be
I've seen
good.
some of those. It's pretty weird when you're watching somebody on a Zoom
They
call
look weird
trying to walk
walking because
towards you.
their head just
Yeah.
goes
Yeah,
like
they're sort
this
of
all
like
the way.
bobbing up and down, and you're like, so proud of you. Get your
But
steps in, man.
unfortunately, they also like stand a little taller than the camera, so it's kind of like they're
Yeah.
looking down at you at the same time. So it's like,
Intentionally.
yeah, definitely intentionally. I want to there's a couple more questions we had. You know, two questions.
Yeah. What
One
you
of
got?
them, was there a recent problem that you were challenged with that you actually overcame?
Yeah. Uh, so this brain of mine, I'm pretty sure I have undiagnosed ADHD or something because my attention gets fractured so easily.
Don't we all?
And I've heard that time is money. I think attention is money. My attention is money.
Mm. I mean,
Um,
literally,
yeah,
ads.
literally. And as knowledge workers, how this muscle works is so important. And just being able to tune it the way we want it to work is so important. So I realized that my attention was getting fractured. I was missing deadlines. I wasn't getting I wasn't getting the portfolio that I wanted to get done. And I got over that. I got real mad at myself at first, but then I got over it by purging my phone. I got rid of all the apps that needed my attention. I set aside any entertainment that wasn't like the one thing that I was looking forward to. No more sidetracks. And this, I just fine tuned this engine. Yeah.
Interesting. It's interesting. You also didn't just use you have an iPhone, right?
I do.
Yeah. So I'm curious why didn't you just use the focus mode? Because when you put it into focus mode, you actually can choose what apps show up on your phone, and then when you're out of the focus mode, they come back.
This is a wonderful device, but I think interacting with it it provides many opportunities for my attention to fracture further.
Hmm.
I
Interesting.
think focus mode is great. I use focus mode, but getting away from another processing place, another device, I think was one of the goals. It's not like I could build my portfolio on my phone, so just narrowing my device list to just the thing that I needed to work on um, definitely helped me overcome that challenge. Yeah, I mean, have you guys felt that your attention is fractured in many ways?
I'm sorry, I was doing something
Sorry,
else.
I was just gonna inviting somebody else right now.
I'm just
Oh
kidding.
my
I'm just
god,
kidding.
you guys are killing me. Wait, were you
No,
really?
No. I was actually just looking to the questions. No, I think that you are correct, and I think that is something that's baked into the device, which I think is becoming more and more of a problem. I mean, the iPhone, the phone, whatever it is, it's not even a phone anymore. Let's not call it a phone. It's a
No, it's a companion at this point, right?
it's a companion, but it's
It's a
also an
watch.
extension. It's
What
how
are you
you
talking about?
connect to the internet, right? It's your second brain. And I definitely see that for me, I'm always checking it, right? So at
Mm.
certain times of the day, I'm starting to now try to relieve myself of it by, when I'm at dinner with my girlfriend, we sit down in at the dinner table, or even when we go out, I put it down or I put it on the seat so I don't see it on the table and I want to reach towards it unless she runs to the bathroom, then I got to check it, right? But other than that, I try my best in the moments that I have to be present. I absolutely don't want it visible in my face so that I don't check it. Um, Unfortunately, when I'm watching movies now, I'm doing work at the same time because I just have so much work to do. But when I can, I try to push the technology away from me. I have an Aura Ring. I don't know if you see this beautiful little device, and then I have an Apple Watch, right? And I use those for health specifically. I don't really use it for anything else, but you know, sometimes I'm just I can't have any technology around me today. I'm just take it all off, go naked to the computer. I'm just kidding. Just gonna, no technology near me, just do my work, and then that's it. And then I'll go play with my phone afterwards, or I'll go spend time with other people or do whatever. But I try to separate as much as I can when I need to focus and when I need to be present.
Yeah, I think these. What's the book? I forget the book. Is it Hook? Like the Hook, the
Mm,
yellow book, the
Hooked.
Hook.
Yeah,
yeah.
hooked.
All these created that itch that he refers to in the book, where you kind of like, oh, the fear of missing out. Like, what is it that I have? Like, what is it? Then you always want to ensure that you're not missing out. But it also created this, like you said, I'm the same. If I'm in a Zoom meeting, I'm texting, I'm doing something else, I'm reading a blog post at the same time, but listening. Like our approach, and it's sad that I say this, but still, it's like that's it's true. It's sad that we as humans are no longer capable or find it difficult to pay attention and be focused in a meeting.
Yeah.
Like so many people now, because we have all these devices near us, and that's all we do.
But do we
Because we're
adapt?
No, no, it's
I
not.
would prefer like I'm older than both of you. I much preferred the old days when like I didn't have an iPhone. Where if you wanted to know where I was, go find out where all the bikes were in front of the yard. Like that's
Yeah.
how old I am,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's when was fun. Now I see kids like in a trot, or like they're like it's an electric. They're not even paddling away. They're just like, "Brrr." I'm like, geez, paddle. Like
Yeah.
we're getting into like what we talked about being a bit more lazy, but I find is we have all these apps now that do everything for us and that overstimulate our brains. And just being sitting in silence alone at home, many find it hard. Some can't even do it anymore because we're overstimulating our brains all day long.
Mm. What's the cost of the distraction for you guys? How much time does that take up for you?
Years.
Like, what's a notification cost? What's the notification cost you in terms of time?
Um, okay. I would say too much.
Yeah, an hour before you get back to doing what you wanted to do or needed to
Depends.
do.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It depends on the app. If the app has like an infinite scroll, yes. If it's like a text message, most of the time I try to
Yeah.
ignore them. But you know, um, if it's like TikTok, like or like Instagram, like sometimes people say like, hey, it's like, hey, someone liked your post, or like, you have that like gratification that like makes you want to investigate more about it. I think right now my kick is Substack, like getting notifications that people are commenting and liking the podcast and the newsletter. Like that's my
Mhm.
new thing, but I'm using it in a productive way. I'm trying so hard to make it a productive thing, but still not productive, right? When I'm in the wrong context. So I think
Yeah.
that's a great question. Definitely. Are you interviewing us now? What the hell, man?
This is back and forth, man. I'm
I'm just kidding.
curious.
I'm just
Are we in
kidding.
an interview or what?
I'm just kidding. It's a good conversation. No, I think that um, maybe you like maybe there's like a mechanism you can like do like they have a swear jar, but like a attention jar for your phone. And every time you open an app, it notifies something like a system, and it like deposits $1 into that system like from your
Oh,
bank
I'd be broke, man.
account.
I'd be broke.
I think it's a good deterrent. I think it's a pretty good
No,
deterrent.
it's either got to be the stick or the carrot. I think somehow the other applications that want or that really provide value to you have to reward you for being on it. I think.
I don't think it's. Well, I
Um,
mean, all of them though. All the addicting ones are rewarding you by giving you more
no,
content
no,
that your
no, no,
eyes
no. I
love.
think
Yeah, but
I
that's
think
dark UX right there.
Well, I mean,
just so that I
amount
can
doesn't
feel
necessarily
see my
mean.
productivity.
I mean,
Mhm.
but does amount really equate to productive? Like you can be
No.
writing a lot, but it's a lot of BS, right? Like I can have a cat run across the keyboard. Does that mean that I was productive?
I don't know. I like quantity over quality, or quantity leads to quality. So maybe.
I think you're right. Quantity does lead to quality, but I also think it depends on the habit.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
There's a weird equation there, or something
Yeah.
like that.
I'll tell you the other thing that I have a problem with, and I don't have a
Mm,
solution for,
okay,
and maybe you guys can help.
let's problem solve right now.
So I work in the enterprise space, and right now my biggest problem is getting my users to feel something more, an emotion, a
Hmm.
visceral emotion when they come to the product.
Hmm.
How do you do that? Is it just visual design?
Uh, I can answer the non-visual part. Pascal, do you want to talk about the visuals part, if
How
there
do you get
is?
somebody to feel something, you know?
Well, you start and I'll finish.
Okay. Um, how do you get someone to feel something? That's a great question.
It is.
because you have to obviously, number one, understand your users' pain points. That's definitely number one. But then you have to do stuff beyond the pain point that they didn't even know they had pain points about, and you have to
Mm.
surprise them in different ways.
Surprise.
So a surprise could be something that the saying is like good design is invisible, right? Like you don't notice it until it like crashes and burns, and then you're like, oh crap, this thing
Mhm.
like didn't work. Now I'm angry. Now I'm calling support, and support's put me on hold for 15 minutes, and I'm so mad. I have to do this, yesterday. That's when you notice design is bad. But when you're able to take design and then spin it in a way that it is noticeable, but it's a surprise, it's like a gift, right? You have
Mm.
to gift to your users something. And that doesn't necessarily mean like something they download or like an artifact or anything, but even a pat on the back is a gift. Like, we have like the delightful moments of like, oh, that's you did a good job there. Like, thanks, good job sending off your first, project or something like that, right? Those are nice little things, but they're not necessarily like going to make them feel great. Uh,
Yeah. Gift. There's an element of surprise in gift giving, right? And
yes, yes,
Mhm.
yeah.
yeah, and there's also that element of knowing what the other person wants or would appreciate.
Yeah, and it can come in the form of words. It can come in the form of doing an action for them and
Right.
simplifying the process. Like, AI is great at that, right? You can do things ahead of the steps that they think that they're going to take because you already can predict the number of different
That's true.
options, right? So if you're able to do something for them that's in a positive manner that they really liked, yeah, of course, this can totally backfire,
Oh,
and then
can
you
you
can do something, and then they, like I didn't want that to happen,
can you
but
imagine if the first AI was Santa?
what?
Sorry, totally off topic, but go ahead. Pascal, you were gonna say something,
Don't
I
tell them
think.
Santa's still real.
No, I think Mitch, you touched on some topics that I was agreeing with and that I was thinking as well. It's like creating the unexpected, and it's bringing just an like example. If you're in a data app and then the app all of a sudden like there's a magic wand that appears and then you click on it, it kind of tells you, hey, I found three
Mm,
problems within your data points and I could improve your profits by 20%. Do you need help with this? Like this
Mm.
is something that it was like, oh, like I've never had a tool that kind of knows me in this way. I think it's finding these opportunities to create and having like personalized onboarding where the app then becomes your own. It's not like the app that everybody has where you kind of create it has like personal moments for you and like a companion in a way. Obviously, these are all like idealistic
Mhm.
elements,
I
but I
actually
think
have
it's
a different
it,
answer now.
Go
you,
wait, hang on.
you,
Let
Yeah,
you
yeah,
Pascal
yeah.
finish.
Sorry, sorry. I thought he
you
was
can't
finished. Sorry.
you can't change your mind now. You already
I
said it.
can. I guess I can.
This
There's
is
no rules
recorded,
to
man.
this.
No, this is recorded. You can't change it. But I think it's like it's these things, and it's like saying like going above and beyond. It's like the same thing as if we all heard like just make it pop more. Like it's
Mm,
an easy thing that we
No.
can say, right? But we do have to find ways to do different things that are gonna surprise the user in many ways, that are gonna like things that are unexpected that are gonna help users move forward.
mm.
Like it's hard to say, right? But I still think those are things that we still need to strive for because many apps do exactly what we expect out of them, but they don't delight us.
Right.
Like let's bring Clippy from Microsoft. I mean, I miss that guy.
It would be like a nice, like, let's say there's like a 50-year anniversary Clippy that just like pops up for one day. That's a surprise. That's a little bit of a gift for all the retro users, right?
Okay,
Hey,
so
they were ahead
so
of their
that's
times.
so that's
That's true.
nostalgia, right? Nostalgia is a tool that you can use, but I think there's a reason why nostalgia works sometimes. Obviously it doesn't work all the time, but the reason why it does work, and this is what I think the answer I should have said. Your question was, how do you make like a user
People feel
feel
something. Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
something? Uh, do you remember when we were in the internship and the first week of the internship, we had to create a website. Eventually, we didn't even know what we had to create. We had to create something, a solution that helped this National Alliance on Mental Illness, this group, to get the surveys back from the kids accurately and to have them actually fill out the survey so that they can target which location can get funding from the organization and then close the ones
Yeah.
that don't. We went back and forth for a couple of days. We got, our asses handed to us, which was a great day, honestly. It was a really, really good feedback day. And then, we all felt really bad. Like we had a really like down moment. And then at the end of that, spiel, kind of like pep talk we had with, everyone and Devin, our manager at the time, he said like, go spend the weekend together, have a barbecue and get drunk. That's what he said. And we did. And, when we came back, we had a relationship built that was built on a foundation of trust. Like, okay, we went through the mud, we went through like that kind of war zone, and we made it out the other side. We're not unscathed, but we're ready. We know what to expect. We have an expectation that's here. We need to get this up to here for everyone else. And when we finished that second trial of that project, not only did we succeed at blowing everyone's expectations out of the water from the audience, we were the first internship out of any of them that existed to launch a website within 3 days from designing it to building it, testing as well. So we did testing, designing, testing, and building it, and putting it into production. And so that feeling, if you can capture that is how you get them to feel. You have to build a relationship with them. And you have to show them through. Well, you have to go through the same.
I have to get drunk
right?
with my users, is what I just heard.
Yeah, I mean that might work. I mean, it's not. I don't know if you tried that, but give it a try. But like what I'm actually saying is though, it has to do with building a relationship, and you have to figure out the ways in which one way is to surprise them, but that's just one way, and nostalgia is another way. But nostalgia works because they have a relationship to a thing that brought them memories from the past. And it's not something they enjoyed in the moment, but then when they look back on it, they remember all the good things around that nostalgia.
Yeah, I can see that. Good answer.
Sorry. You
just took us all down memory lane. I love it.
Yeah, I do that a lot. That's nostalgic. But yeah, okay. So I have one last question on the list of questions that I wrote up over here. What's a recent book or movie or show that you watched?
So for the sci-fi nerds out there, I'm gonna recommend that you go to your local bookstore and pick up Dune.
What does that say? I can't even read that font. What is that?
Dune.
It's Dune.
Dude,
That's Dune?
It's Frank Herbert's Dune. And
is it better than the movie?
It doesn't have Timothy Chalamet in it.
I can't
But
read it.
if you've seen the movie, you can picture it. The characters are there. You can get a sneak peek at part 2. And I don't usually read fiction books, but I have not read a book like this since Harry Potter.
Really?
Pick it up, read it. It's going to change. I can see how this launched so many different sci-fi books. This is an amazing piece of literature.
Yeah. I wish the movie was as good as you're describing the book.
It's a slow burner. If you're in it, if you're into that kind of world building, then you're into it. Have you guys seen the movie?
I have. I'm waiting for the second one to come out. I think that'll be better.
I haven't seen it. In big confession, I've never read Harry Potter books too.
I mean, I got scared of the first one.
Do you guys like
the
sci-fi?
movies? I've watched the movies, but I haven't read the books.
You
guys
don't
into
know how to
sci-fi?
read. I don't know how to read.
Yeah. I like Star Wars.
Forget. No, this is better than Star Wars. This is better than Harry Potter.
I have heard that actually doing the book is way better than most content that is currently available.
Here's why I like it. And somebody told me this because they knew me. They said, Andrew, you're going to like it because there's a business aspect to it. There is a religion of business in this world that if you're a hustler like you guys are going to like this.
he sells grains of sand.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, sort
Awesome.
of. The
yeah,
spice, man, the spice. You'll
the
Let's
like it.
go.
spice of the donuts that we chew over the keyboard that gets caught in
Yes.
the keys. That's what we sell.
Other book, other book that I read, Continuous Discovery Habits, Teresa Torres. Read this book.
Alright.
What
It's
is that
gonna
about?
change. Have you read this one?
No, is it? I've read Atomic Habits.
Yeah,
Like
I've got
that's
that
the
one. That's next on my list.
that it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
think it's
really, really, really
overrated.
good.
Any spoilers?
No, Mitch has said it's overrated, but
Yeah,
he's not.
I think it's overrated.
Let's just continue conversation, me and you, and that's.
I like to disagree. I also like to have my own opinion because I think
No,
it's
no, I
I'm my own
know, but
person,
I
right?
mean, Atomic Habits is you don't necessarily learn things. It just forces you to put things back into perspective again and put them into process and practice. I mean, it depends on how many books you've read in that realm or genre of books. I think it was well written. It was a good book. It's not like it's not the book of all books, but it did for me personally. It did a great job.
I mean, the only reason why I think that it's overrated is because it's really building up to like one key framework, like the main framework that at least
Yeah.
they're describing in the book. And that framework is actually replicated in so many books that describe similar things.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, it's just like everyone has like this, like everyone gets it, you know?
Is
Who
it an
got to
older
it
book?
first? Who got to it first, though?
I don't know who got to it first, but I don't think the person who wrote the book was the first
No,
to
but
even come
maybe
up
your
with it either.
perception is swayed because he wrote it first, but you read it the fifth one.
Mm.
See?
Maybe, but
You might not
we-
be the target audience, Mitchell.
We don't know.
maybe I'm not target audience, but you know, it's funny. The guy near Earl, I can't pronounce his name.
I say eel, but I probably don't say it right.
Maybe neither one of us said it right, but the one who wrote Hooked, he also wrote Indistractable,
Yep.
which he DM'd me to let me know he launched it. Thought that was a nice touch. But
His books are good.
you know what's funny? He wrote the book that like what we're talking about today, our whole topic today about like addiction to the phone. He kind of defined it for everyone in general in the startup valley, right? But then he wrote a book to counteract everything. It's like, no, wait, actually, let me fix it. Let me fix this, and let me show you how to do more calm technology and like really consider more of the user side than the business of like how do you get them addicted to it. I don't know how I feel about that because like the damage is done, right? Like that was the blueprint everyone used.
100%.
I think there's going to be a generation of people who overthrow the addiction model of business nowadays. I think these kids are going to turn into adults, and they're going to see the cost that they paid for every notification, and they're going to raise different humans.
I think that
I hope so.
a lot of the Gen Z, they already have. I think they are addicted a lot to TikTok and like other various social media apps. But I'm seeing a section of them that are, I hate saying them, like they're like a separate group of humans, but like, but a lot of them are becoming more conscious about like what they're building, and they're building more useful things that don't have a business model tied to them. And that might be dangerous for the success and failure of it, right? Because there's like this whole like overthrow the government, overthrow the business, right? I think Web3 kind of goes too far in some of that aspects. But there's like this calming technology, this like absence of trying to grab your attention, but to do a task very, very well, so well that you can't live without it. Like OpenMind is a task, not a task. It like collects things from the web for you, so you can like quickly search for it, but there's no like ads. It's just a subscription. Like it depends on the subscription. It depends on the business model, right? That will determine how you need people to grow the product, or how you can like the ones that are there and not have to spend time trying to attract people. It's just such a good product. It attracts people not because it's addicting, and then it uses human weaknesses to draw you to it.
Interesting. I'll have to check out that product.
Was that like the final thought of the episode? Like that's how like you
No.
close it?
No, if I was to plug anything on this, I would say it would be read Dune. You'll be a better human on the other end.
Awesome.
Cool. I actually don't think the name of it was Open Mind. But anyways, I'll find the name. I'll put it in the show description. Andrew, it was a pleasure, as always. Thank you for the wonderful back and forth. I know we don't always agree on things, but I really appreciate the conversations, as always. Always
Thanks, homie.
Yeah, no problem. Stay in touch, guys.